Iraq has more than 600,000 micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs. Together, they employ two-thirds of the country's entire private sector workforce. Yet the financing gap stands at nearly 11 billion US dollars. Supporting MSMEs are where some of these gaps can start to close. Welcome to On the Move, an IOM Iraq production where we have honest conversations with our specialists about our support to the people of Iraq. I'm your host, Deepika Nath, and today on World MSME Day, we sit down with Elisa Molena, Durable Solutions and Livelihoods Program Coordinator, to talk about what it really takes to support small businesses, what works, what doesn't, and what more needs to be done. Welcome, Elisa. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
So let's get started. Help us understand what exactly are micro, small, and medium enterprises? What makes them different to any other business?
There is a definition, right, that entails a specific size. The maximum is to have like 250 employees and around $50 million turnover, right? So if you go above that, you are not considered a micro, a small, or a business or a medium business in Iraq. However, I think that in terms of business model, business plans, it just does not make much of a change, right? What's important to know when working with micro, small, and medium enterprises is what are the barriers they face, and sometimes they're very specific because of their sizes, and also what are the opportunities that they offer vis-a-vis larger corporation that may even be international in terms of rehabilitation and opportunities in the communities where they operate.
So you're saying there's a lot of micro, small, and medium enterprises in Iraq. Like, do they have a potential to really make an impact?
Yeah, we see as IOM these small companies as propellers of development and opportunities in communities. We work in a lot of communities that have been impacted by shocks and conflicts. And income generation overall is an incredible tool to provide stability, but especially when it comes to supporting businesses, the spillover effects are real because they are relatively limited in terms of geographical scope. So the income and the wealth that businesses produce, it remains in the communities, and it is reinvested in the communities.
So what I'm hearing is that MSMEs in Iraq have a perfect opportunity to contribute to the national economy, whether it's in terms of workforce or in terms of rehabilitation of the country. Can you share more about how they support the economy?
I would say that from an economic perspective, there is a huge private sector market that is untapped, meaning that public jobs are still very desirable by the population, especially the youth population. So that's, first of all, a great space for new entrepreneurs or investors from abroad to come to Iraq and invest. But I would also say that by bringing in new ideas and hiring people within the community, there is an opportunity to leverage the development of businesses and inclusion of underrepresented population within businesses.
So in the time that you've been working in Iraq as the Durable Solutions and Livelihoods Program Coordinator, can you share with us some of the most interesting businesses that you've come across, whether in ideas or in actual implementation and scale up?
So what we have seen throughout the years is that there is clearly like a spectrum of within the applicants and the business that we support, right? We talk about shoemakers, but we also talk about painting enterprises that work on tourism and the work that is done in traditional communities in restoring, but specifically maintaining local traditions alive. But at the same time, the large chunk of the businesses that we support, they're really service providers in their communities. We have restaurants, we have carpenters, we have schools as well, like private schools and kindergartens. So bakeries and producers of food, of different kinds of food.
What would you say are some of the most common bottlenecks or challenges that these small businesses encounter as they are trying to meet their aspirations to go international or even to just expand locally?
So the first one is access to finance. And we see that especially whenever companies wants to scale or to even expand nationally. The second point, I think that is value chain in Iraq are very challenging, especially within the country due to the conflict and due to the shocks that the country has gone through in the past decades. And then I would say, finally, from a regulation perspective, policies and facilitation of formalization, for example, those could really support and ease the barrier for a lot of people that consider the private sector too difficult or too risky.
How does IOM support in addressing these challenges?
So we have developed several programs that tackle many of these barriers, especially when it comes to businesses. I think it's very important to mention that we target both individuals and companies when it comes to livelihoods, because there is still a very large percentage of the population that is vulnerable and is not necessarily yet ready even to consider opening a business by themselves, right? So the job creation component is the most important component of any support we give to companies. And by having job creation as the entry point then allows us to work on those three main barriers. Because first of all, when it comes to access to finance, we ensure that businesses are educated on the financial services that are available in country. We work a lot on financial literacy because that's never enough. And we work as well, do a lot with the Central Bank of Iraq and financial institutions to also ensure that their requirements and entry requirements decrease, and they mirror the actual readiness of the market and the businesses to potentially access products. When it comes to value chain, there is a lot of work that IOM does on infrastructure and service provision. What we see from the government is that there is a great ambition for the private sector to develop and for the private sector to thrive. Everything that IOM is doing together with the government and what we are also seeing from the governmental counterparts, everything contributes towards a wealthier and solid private sector in the country.
Can you help illustrate exactly what IOM has done over the years?
We have several programs running at the moment that address a variety of needs that we see on the ground. So the first two programs that I'm going to present are the graduation approach and the individual livelihood assistance. As the name says, they are individual level support. It's just a small push that we give to existing but under-tapped capacity to experiment together with us in creating a business model, putting together a business plan, and then running it with our help. Then what's important is the support we give to companies. So the support that we give to companies is really informed by the potential they have to create jobs. Mm-hmm. So we look for companies that have already a level of scale and capacity that they've acquired throughout the years, and that also have an expansion plan that allows for that to scale up in terms of staffing.
So what would success look like? Let's imagine we're having this conversation 5-10 years from now, and from the 3,000 businesses that we've supported, what does success look like for SMEs in Iraq?
My wish would be, first of all, to see many more youngsters opening businesses, becoming entrepreneurs, and being curious about the potential that the private sector can offer for their future. My hope and what we are working towards is that companies can access finance freely. Whoever has a good business model and has a plan to scale up, they can go to a bank, they can go to a financial service provider, and they can get the money necessary to make that dream or that plan a reality. we believe that there is a great opportunities for entrepreneurship here, and the capacities are here and they are ready to go.
Thank you so much. This has been very, very informative and illustrative.
Thank you so much for having me.
Whether you're joining us from Baghdad, Erbil, or somewhere outside the country, we're glad that you're here. Join us again next time, where we continue this conversation with our experts and explore different aspects of migration and its impact on the development of Iraq. This is On the Move.